edge locations, the basic overview we have seen. Then we started with IAM users. We have created IAM users. We have seen what is MFA. We have created the tokens also, MFA device, access key, security groups, roles and responsibilities, EC2 users, elastic IP addresses, and bunch of other things we have seen in these 4 days. Okay, and this the for this particular week, this is will be the last class for, and this is the Friday. Saturday and Sunday you will not be having the class. Next class will be on Monday. Okay, today we'll be devoting our this session towards the DevOps, introduction to the DevOps. I'll tell you what DevOps basically is, why is it required, why is it going to be the so hot topic in the market, what are the things that the challenges that we are facing in our day-to-day lives, because of which there is a need of DevOps, and various different tools, methodologies that are being used in the DevOps. So that is going to be the agenda for our today's class, apart from the AWS. But before we move on to this part, we need to have yesterday some of you were saying that you was not able to have SSH working in your Windows system. So please tell me whether you have tried it after 8 o'clock, whether you have tried creating SSH session using your Windows system, because it's working in the Mac and easy to connect. You can use it using the management console. But even if you have tried it, please tell me. Or if anyone is facing the issues, you can tell me. But anyone who is facing an issue using the Windows system. Commands are not working. Okay. Is there anyone else apart from Ritu who is facing this issue? Okay. So, but I have arranged the Windows system. Let me switch to the Windows system, and then we'll try to execute the same thing using the Windows system. Okay, and then we'll jump on to our DevOps introductory part. Okay, this is going to be most of the basics overview of the DevOps. That is going to be the agenda for the today's class. But before that, we'll try to execute the SSH. We'll try to create the Amazon Linux shell using our Windows system. So give me a second. Let me switch to the Windows. But in the meanwhile, is there anyone who is confident enough that you can execute all these commands using the Windows system? If you can do it, that will be much helpful. I need not to switch to the system. If you can do it, yes.
Yes, sir. I can try.
Yeah, that's very good, Vishal. Please try it. In the meanwhile, let me set up our Windows system. If in case you have any problem, then we'll do it on the Windows. You can share the screen, Vishal. Try to do this once.
Okay, sir. Just a second. I join with my laptop.
Yes, yes, yes. You can share the screen. Vishal, just speak up whatever you are doing.
Yes, sir. First I run my instance after that. Okay, sir. I think that my network is slow today.
No issues.
Uh, yes, sir, it's working very slow right now.
Okay. Okay, beta. Let's stop the screen share. I'll do it in the Windows system. No issues.
Okay.
Is my voice audible? Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me share the screen. Okay, so but I have logged in using the Windows system. So this is AWS Management Console. Let's open it. And of course, I need to have my any of the instance running. I need to get the public IP address before I can move on. So this is a root user. This is, let's change the account. Sahil Sharma dot, and no, I don't want to save this. Password is, so I have logged in. This is my region. Let's move on to the EC2 recently visited services and see if we have any of the instance up and running. So instance running it as 0, but we don't have any of the instances because yesterday at the end of the session I terminated all the instances. So again we'll be launching one of the instance. So let's have this. Let's launch the instance. Let's give it a name. Uh, Demo instance 1. Okay, demo instance 1, and let's everything rest will remain same. T2 micro done. Key pair, will I be using the key pair demo instance demo key pair or create a new key pair? Let's try to create the new one. So it is new key pair. Let's keep it all new key pair. Okay, but make sure the moment you are going to download this PEM file that we need to have, we have seen yesterday, it is encrypted with the RSA algorithm. And if you are using the Windows operating system, I'm using the Windows 11 operating system. So PEM file, I'm going to download this. If you have a Windows lesser than or it is lesser than Windows 10, if it is Windows 7, 8 or 9, you need to download the .ppk file. Okay, so there are a few more steps, 3 or 4 more steps in case you have these systems, but otherwise I hope everyone, I have my Mac OS. We have seen yesterday in the Mac OS. Today we are going to see it in a
the Windows operating system. So everything is okay. New key pair. I'm going to create a key pair. Okay. Now key pair file is already downloaded. Okay. This key pair file is already downloaded. Now network is done. Create a security group or select the existing one. You can do any of the thing. So security group also we have seen in the yesterday's class. So let's choose the existing one. Launch wizard one. Let's pick up this one. All the security groups are created by ourselves. So I'm going to pick this one. It is not going to matter whatever you're going to choose here. So everything remains same here. Move on to the advanced details, and under advanced details, enable instance capacity, user data. We need to write the user data here. So network subnet, no preferences, firewall, create a security group. Why we are not getting this? Last time we have seen enable this SSH and HTTP. Where is that? Network, where is network? Let's have a. Okay, now we have got security group rule 1 SSH protocol TCP IP anywhere, and we need to have another one. But why I'm changing this? Because I need to choose a security group where I have this. Let's have this default. I need to have a SSH protocol for working it. Okay, this is good. This is written the rules with the source allows IP addresses to access your instance. We recommend setting rules. Okay, and ultimately we need to paste here the script. Let me get the script. Bootstrap script that I'm pasting here. It is going to execute for only once. So Amazon Linux 2, virtual T2 micro, firewall, new security group, launch instance, success. I'm sharing my entire screen. Okay, and the first thing you can go is see I have opened. You can open the Windows PowerShell. So either you can open the Windows PowerShell and see if it is enabled, whether your operating system provides the functionality to use the SSH secure shell. You can simply type SSH to check it, and yes, this is good to go. You can say this, I have got this message, so that means the SSH services is enabled. This is there, or you can simply go to the command prompt, type command prompt, right? That you can do it in any of the way. Okay, so if I type SSH service here, so again, so it is enabled on both the ways. So either you can use the command prompt or you can use the PowerPoint shell. So let's try to use the PowerPoint shell. So let's move and see EC2 instance. This is up and running. We have got public IP address. Let's copy this address. So security group, let's move to the security group. We need to see which security group is attached to this one. So there is no HTTP, so I'm going to include HTTP is 80, so anywhere from IPv4. So let's save the rules. Now we have got two rules. Move to the instance. Okay. So you can see, but earlier it was not working because we had in security group, we do not have this TCP or HTTP protocol. In security group, I have added this with the port number 80. So this is working absolutely fine. So similarly, when you are working for beta SSH in the security group, you need to have, where is the security group? Yes, in security group, you need to have the port number 22 needs to be open. Okay. So for SSH, we need to have the port number 22 needs to be open. Then only you'll be able to get that. Okay. So let's move to our shell, and simply I'll be writing here the same commands that we used to write there. Okay. So I'm going to write here. So before we can start, I have got this new key pair. I need to change its position, show in folder where it is present. New key pair, this is PEM. Let's copy desktop. Let's create a new folder and let it write AWS codes. Okay. And in this AWS codes, I'm going to paste this new key pair.pem file. Okay. So we are simply going to check the ls first of all. So in user C, these are the documents that we have. Okay, if I'll do cd, I hope this is the command. How to change the directory in this?
Try only with backslash.
Cd, try only with backslash.
Yes, sir. Remove dot.
Okay. C desktop because it does not exist. cd documents लिख के cd documents. So it is working. So desktops, it is not able to locate. So let's move this keypad to the copy. Let's move it to the documents. I'm going to paste it here. So documents, let's do the ls in the document. So exactly we need to reach at that path. This commands, just give me a second. Okay, so but we were in the documents. I have simply moved to the previous directory. So we have used the cd dot dot. I have moved to the previous directory, and when I do the ls, you'll find in the user shikha there is contact document download favorites. There is no desktop folder present here, so that is why we are not able to search the desktop folder here. Okay, so it's let's try to place it somewhere else. So let's try to keep it in the download only. This is cd downloads. we have been to the download, and let's do the ls in the download. So lot of files present here in the download, and one of the file here will be present that we have just downloaded. See, I can show you by visiting the downloads folder. So this is the download folder, and you will find new keypair.peml file is present in the download. So the same when I'll do this ls in the download folder, so whatever files are present in the download folder, so it is being listed there. Okay, let's try to identify undertaking, teacher summary, syllabus. We need to get that file. Project, practical, PAN card, new documents, migration, meetings, letter, download DL, description, docs, degree. Okay, so we are not able, since there are a lot of data in the download folder, directly we are not able to get this, but the file is present in this very folder. Okay, so what we can do is directly we can write the command. It is going to fetch from here. Let's move all the way down.
सर अगर हम जो डेमो के पेयर है उसका अगर नाम चेंज करते हैं तो वो रन करेगा?
No, beta, the key pair that you have downloaded, the name that you have given at the time of creation of key pair, the name needs to be exactly same. You cannot change the name of that particular file.
Okay, sir, got it.
Okay, so we have got all the files in the downloads, and let's try to clear this. I'm simply going to clear this. I know in the download folder the file is present, so I need to have a PEM file, and simply I'm going to write here is SSH, the same command, SSH hyphen I. Okay, then the name of file is new keypair.pem. New keypair.pem. Okay. So let's try to write this. Then we are going to write EC2 user, because this is the default user provided by AMI, Amazon Linux interface is going to provide. This is going to be a default user. So I'll be writing here at the rate, and then I need to just get the public IP address from the Amazon this management console. So let's move back and get the public IP address. These are the instances running T2 details. So we have got this public IP address. I'm going to copy it from here. Okay, so copy, user, control, paste. So the moment we are going to write it here like this, and this is what the public IP address is. We have copied it, and we simply need to press the enter. So it is going to ask, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes, no, and whatever the option, of course we are going to write it yes. So okay, so this is working, EC2, Amazon Linux to AMI. So beta, you can see this is working fine. So there is one of the, I can see, if you are facing any difficulty beta in connecting this, I know where the issue might be. You might be getting some of the requests or the permissions are might be denied. Okay, so there might be the permissions that are going to be denied, and for that beta you just need to click on, I can show you if it is not working. What you need to do is simply click on the file, click on the properties, and you need to be administrated. Go to the security and system. See, this is the system, and we have got the multiple user. You need to be administrator for this one. Let's go to the advanced, and you can remove this. Click on administrator, and this remove this, and obviously it is going to already going. I'm not going to remove anything, so it is already having full control, and the full control. Okay, so the system or the administrator that you are having, it needs to have the access that is going to be the full row. Okay, you have this particular user which is going to have, so show advanced permissions. So full control, travel folder, list folder, read attributes, read extensions, create file. So your user needs to have all those permissions before your actual, like here the username is Shikha, and that particular user, I'm using Shikha user, is here, and it is already having all the permissions for this one. So try to go to the this new key pair.pem file and try to get this permissions sorted, and of course by doing so you'll be able to get an answer. Okay, otherwise the same way beta इसी साथ I don't have the Linux system, otherwise I would have shown you in the Linux as well. Same thing you can do with the help of Linux, and the same thing you can do with the help of the systems that are earlier than Windows 10. That means Windows 7, 8, 10. All those Windows needs to download an additional software that is putty, and you need to make few changes in this, and then you can do that. Okay, so let me stop the screen share. So beta, this was, let me control C, let me end this, control V, session is closed, exit. So our work is done for this. Let me terminate this instance. We don't need any instance right now.
सर
Who spoke this? Yes beta, tell me.
सिर्फ परमिशन तब भी डिनाइड हो रहा है जब मतलब फोल्डर में अगर एक नाम से दो फोल्डर दो मतलब डाउनलोडेड है ना, तो फिर उसमें अगर फोल्डर में अगर नेम चेंज है और वहां पे अगर एसएस की के टाइम में नेम अलग है, अगर हम वो वाला एसएस की वाला नाम भी लिख रहे हैं और फोल्डर में चेंज है तो भी डिनाइड कर दे रहा
To
है.
be denied, but that is what, see, I have, what you might have observed this practice. Whenever I want to access this SSH or PEM file, I try to create a separate folder. उस फोल्डर के अंदर मैं सिर्फ एक ही फाइल रखता हूं. I try to keep only a single file in that folder so that this works absolutely fine. Otherwise I have multiple PEM files and multiple PPK files, so this might create confusion sometimes. So these are some of the practices by which you can avoid these confusions and this permissions. So whosoever is not able to execute it, that is simply because of the permissions. Okay, so you can right click and go to the permission and make sure you have the full control for the users or the administrator, whatever user is actually trying to access it, and you'll be able to get this. Okay, so this is all for our Windows system. So let me move back to my Mac machine, and let's continue and start with our introduction with the DevOps.
Okay, so beta, we are back on our system, and let's try to continue with our topic. See, we have seen couple of introductory part. We have seen the AWS and the few topics related to the AWS. Today we'll be trying to start with our the DevOps part. Okay, so let me have this whiteboard. But please join this whiteboard. There might be the link I have shared with you. Okay, I have shared the jam file. Please join this. Okay, so let's continue with our topic. IAM is done, AWS is done. So this is AWS, or let's simply write DevOps. But before I begin with the discussion of this particular term, is there anyone who has heard about it before, or you know exactly what this thing is and what it does? क्या problem है और क्या solve हो रहा है? Is there anyone who is having any idea related to this term, DevOps? But I need to see the level that where should I begin from. Have you just try to better speak up or try to type in the chat area? Do you ever studied or heard about the DevOps? Do you know anything related to DevOps? But anyone, do you know anything related to DevOps? Try to be interactive, please. No. Okay, Ritu, no. Kranti say no. You know nothing about it, but my question is, have you ever heard about it? Those of
Yes,
you are
sir.
on those of you are on LinkedIn, you might have seen lot of job postings related to the DevOps engineer required, Azure DevOps required, AWS DevOps engineers are required, and generally good companies like Microsoft, Infosys, TCS generally open up their vacancies like this. You might have heard it, but you do not know what exactly this is going to be. Okay, for that purpose, but I'm going to start from very scratch, very beginning, so that we establish a good and a sound base for it. So to understand the DevOps, first of all, we need to understand the software development lifecycle, SDLC. This is the term that majority all of you might have studied already. Software development lifecycle. ये पढ़ा हुआ है? So you studied this one. So beta, there are multiple the ways or methodologies. Yeah, development and operation. Yes. So there SDLC, there are multiple operations or the multiple ways in which you can develop the software. So to publish or to make the software, there are multiple ways. First one we have understood is the waterfall model. We have studied already, very basic one. Then we have studied after this. This is the very traditional and the conventional, not practically used in day-to-day lives. Then we have the agile model. So that was very prevalent in last few years, agile model for the software development. Then comes the lean model. Then comes the practical that is being used is the lean model for the software development. Okay, now beta, each of these things that is written onto this is going to provide, is going to have some of its disadvantages. Okay, there are some disadvantages in the waterfall model, because of which we jumped onto the agile model, and there are a few disadvantages in agile model because of which we jump onto the lean software development model. And there are few problems in the lean development model which gives birth to DevOps. Okay, so before directly starting with the DevOps, let's understand the history, that what gave a birth, what is the necessity of this particular word. Okay, so but in waterfall model you might have observed कि इस तरीके से, this is what the diagram we might have studied. This is the requirement gathering, feasibility study, software development, integration, testing, deployment. Do you remember like this a diagram you might have studied? But you are just
Yes, sir.
just so you are just supposed to say yes and no so that I can understand you are with me. Okay, you might have studied like this. The disadvantage was beta, this is a very long time taking process. Suppose at the starting of an year your client or customer given you the requirement that you are supposed to make the software. You will take all the 2 month for requirement analysis, then 2 month for the gathering, 2 month for the development, 2 month for the integration testing. You will take entire 1 year of time before you hand over your project to the client. This is time consuming. Second point is, suppose in between, while this is going on, in between after 6 months the client's requirement are going to change. So there is no way possible that you can move from the implementation phase to requirement gathering. There is no way you can move back. So this was the major disadvantage of the waterfall model. Then we move to the agile model. But the agile model say that instead of using this process from starting first day, and this is 365 day. So agile says that instead of using this long process and long waiting hours, let's divide our task into smaller chunks. Okay, so it says that let's divide our task into smaller chunks. So this is the first deliverable. This is the second deliverable. When I'll say deliverable, better, it is not the complete project that I'm going to deliver. But suppose this is after 2 months, this is after 2 months, that means after 4 months, let's keep it 4 months. This is after 6 months, this is after 8 months. That means after every short span of time, I am going to deliver some of the very critical or important functionalities to the client. Okay, so what is the benefit of this? एक तो बेटा one is client need not to wait for entire 365 days. Within 60 days he'll be having some part of the software. Second advantage is that in case he wants to modify or change anything, better that we can incorporate in the next deliverable. We can see that changes implemented in the next deliverable. So agile model, this is the second model that I'm discussing, that is the agile model. It is still a better approach as compared to the waterfall model, because small deliverables, this is one module developed in 2 months, this is another module developed in the 4 months, this is the third module developed in the 6 months. So if this is the first module, but a second module will be integrated to the first module, and the third module will be integrated to the first and the second module. And similarly, whenever you're going to deliver any of the part of the project, it is going to be integrated to the already existing one. This is the simple agile model. So I'm spending this time beta just to establish the base for the DevOps. The third is the lean model. Okay, the third is the lean model. But a lean model is going to work on the very important 90%. It is same to agile, 90% same to agile. Only one difference is there in the lean model and agile model is the feedback loop. There is a feedback loop. Okay, there is a feedback loop in case of lean model. So whenever there is smaller chunk, 2 month, 4 month, 6 month, 8 month, this is there, whatever the client's feedback is there for the first 2 month, the same feedback will be carried over to the fourth month. The feedback from again client will be carried over to 6 month, 8 month. So what you can understand from here is the involvement of the client is very high. The involvement of the client is very high in this software processing. Okay, so because he needs to regularly check up and he needs to provide the constructive feedback so that the software can be improved as per his requirement. So very high client involvement is there, which is a good thing. Okay, instead of using this simply waterfall model in which the client is just clueless and he's waiting for entire 1 year. So if it is involved regularly, that is going to be the important part. Okay, now I'm going to touch the better starting of the DevOps. Now what happens is in the lean model, better, this is the lean model. In lean model, suppose this module is developed. Okay, this module is developed and this is going to given to this is a developer team, this is a development team. Okay, this is a development team, and this is the operations team. The operations team is responsible for the testing, monitoring, deployment. Everything is going to be taken care by the operations team. Now development team is going to write a piece of code which is working on the development team system. It is going to hand it over to the operations team, okay, which is responsible for the deployment and the release cycles. Now this might not work on the operations team. So this is going to send a feedback to the developers team, will say that, hey, whatever software you have given me, it is not working on my system. Developer will say that, hey, I have done it correctly on my system, it's absolutely working on my system, I am not responsible, I am not going to change your system, so on my system it is working fine. So this is going to create better the internal conflict. Developer is going to code the project, it is going to give it to the operation team. operation team is going to provide the errors and the bugs and the feedbacks to the developer team. And because of this, there's a clash between the developer team, there's a clash between the operations team. I'm trying to establish the base that using this model, development team and the operation teams might have the clash between them. There we introduce the terms which is called as the DevOps. It is made up of two terms. DEV stands for the development team and OPS stands for the operational team. Both of these teams are going to work together for the successful delivery of the software. Okay, so both of teams are going to work together. Now this DevOps beta, like what is, if I'll say waterfall model, if I'll say waterfall model, and suppose I'll say waterfall model, there is an auto rickshaw driver or a layman that is going to ask you that bhaiya or sir, what is waterfall model? How you are going to explain it to him? Beta, is waterfall model a technology? Tell me yes or no. Is it a technology? No, this is not a technology. Is it a tool to be used? ये कोई tool है? No, this is not a tool to be used. Is it any kind of software that we can use physically? No, this is not a software that we can use physically. Waterfall is just a methodology. This is just a methodology. Methodology means it tells us in what way you need to carry out the work. This is simply the methodology. In the same way, the first concept that you need to make it clear in terms of DevOps is, beta, DevOps is neither tool, DevOps is neither a software, neither a platform. DevOps is simple a methodology. This is a methodology. Okay, this simply tells us that how development teams and operation teams needs to work together in synchronization. That's the only DevOps meaning of the DevOps. The complete term is going to be, okay, what development and operation teams, how this is going to work. This is simply the meaning of DevOps. So wherever you'll see the word DevOps, you need to make it very clear. This is neither a software nor a tool, neither a platform. This is simply a methodology using which we can work. Now, when I'll say this is a methodology, beta, consider it as an umbrella. So I'm going to draw an umbrella. This is a DevOps. Now, if the development teams and the operation teams needs to work together, here comes the lot of tools that fall under the umbrella of DevOps. First is Git, ठीक है, फिर बेटा आता है Jenkins, फिर आता है आपके पास Puppet, फिर आता है Ansible, then you have few more, like one is Ant, ANT, okay, one is Terraform, okay. So these are the few of the tools, beta, these are the few of the tools that are required for the implementation of DevOps. DevOps in itself a methodology, but there are few tools that are going, few softwares that are going to use the methodology of DevOps in order to execute. Now, that's the second point, second conclusion that you need to understand. The third conclusion is, beta, you cannot use only Git, only single individual Git cannot be used to implement the DevOps. Only Jenkins cannot be used individually to implement the DevOps. These tools, beta, cannot be used as individual tools. Okay, so you cannot say that, okay, I have understood the Jenkins, now I am a master in the DevOps. You cannot say that, because Git is linked to Jenkins, Jenkins is linked to Puppet, Puppet is linked to Ansible, this is going to link to Ant, this is linked to going to Terraform. So these tools are going to linked with each other in order to understand this DevOps completely. But these are the tools that we need to touch around. Okay. Now, if you'll ask me, sir, whether we'll be able to completely understand within this training, the answer is going to be no, not completely. But I'll make sure whatever tools are written here, I'm going to give you the brief introduction, working, the how this is, what they are actually working, where it is implemented. We'll try to understand that as well. Otherwise, this completely, if you understand this DevOps along with this 8 to 10 different tools, it alone need to have at least 1 year of the study. At least you need to have 1 year of study in order to understand this completely. Okay. Now, So this is just an introduction, but I have tried to establish a base for this DevOps. Now I'm going to move on to few of the notes that I have with me, and we'll try to understand from there that how this DevOps, what is this Git, what is this Jenkins, and how all these things are going to be working with each other. Okay, so just give me a second. Let's move back to our notes. Okay, so beta, I hope the screen is visible to you. So what is software development? From very basic, whatever we have discussed, whether this thing is present. So software development, this is the process of transforming the customer requirement into the complete software product. So whatever my customer is going to give me the requirements, I'm going to convert it into the software product. So that is what our software development is going to be. Okay. Now next comes the software development life cycle. So life cycle is going to have few very important terms, in broader terms. The software development involves the following stages, and this we have already studied: requirements, first phase; design, second phase; implementation, third; verification, fourth; maintenance, 5. Requirements means you first need to make it sure that whatever client needs to have, corresponding that you need to get the requirement gathering. Design is you need to have a high level design, so that looking onto that design, you can code it and you can implement it. Implementation is simply the coding part. Then verification is the testing part. You need to test the software before it is actually deployed it. Then comes the last part, that is the maintenance part. Okay, so these are the few of the steps that are required for the software development life cycle. Now in this software development life cycle, the first point is requirements. So this is the most important phase of the software development life cycle. In this stage, the requirements are gathered from the customers, and the requirements are then analyzed to ensure the feasibility. So whatever the customer is demanding, whether it is feasible or not, so that needs to be analyzed here. So the next step is design. So requirement design, requirements are received. Architect transform the requirement into the technical specification. So you need to convert it into the technical document. Then on next step, implementation. So it is going to go to the developers for the implementation and for the specification. Step number 4 is going to be the verification. Once the development work is done to the application, it is verified by the group of testers. So testers are going to verify that whether it is performing as per the expectation or not. So whatever the expectations of client are, it is going to work as per that expectations. Okay, to map the application functionalities with the specific given customer. And finally, when it is deployed, we need to keep a regular check whatever updations, feedbacks, modifications, updated versions are required. So everything falls under the maintenance. Once the code is verified, it is pushed on to the production. Post this, the application is updated with the future enhancement and optimization if any required. Then we have 3 development models, but that we are going to start in a bit. take a 5-minute break, and then we are going to start with it. Okay, take a 5-minute break. I'll be back. Okay, so let's get started with this one. So let me share the screen once again. Okay, so in SDLC model, since I have given you the introduction for the three basic model, waterfall, agile, and the lean. So since the times when the software development started, various software development models have been curated, which implements the software development life cycle. So these are simpler ways by using which we can achieve our targets and we can develop a good quality software products and we can deliver it to our clients. Okay, and traditionally we have three major models: waterfall, agile, and the lean. By the way, we have already discussed what is being included into it, so let's try to see each of these models in the upcoming slide. So let me open another one. So this is waterfall model, and as you can see, the multiple steps is waterfall model was among the first development model which followed the software development life cycle. The waterfall model follows a linear sequential modeling. Linear means once you move on to the next phase of the development, by no means you can move to the previous one. Okay, and the development until the first stage is not finished, the next stage is not started. That means in middle of something, suppose you are coding and unit testing is being performed, the client is going to give you any new requirements, so you will not be able to include those requirements here because you are already being working on the previous module or the previous code. So this is exactly which is not feasible. So first point is the client involvement is very negligible, very low client involvement. Second is the long waiting periods is going to be there. The third very important point is, suppose beta it will take 2 years to implement this. Suppose in the beginning of 2020 the client gave you this the task of making the software, and at the end of 2022 you are going to deliver. Now in the span of 2 years, maybe the case the client's requirement are going to change. Okay, so that becomes really very difficult to incorporate the changes in this waterfall model. So this is, of course, this is impractical. This is just for the simply understanding that how the things are going to start from the waterfall model. Advantages इसके क्या थे? Clear objectives that you can get in the very starting, specific deadlines, you know that how much time for 2 months for the requirement gathering, 2 months for the next phase, and 4 months for the next one. So specific deadlines are there. Okay, no ambiguous requirement because you spend a lot of time in making the requirement, understanding feasibility, whether it is practically possible to convert it into the software or not. So you are studying that. Next one is well understood milestones. Now, once you complete any module completely, you deploy it, that you know already it is completed. But whereas in case of lean and agile, you keep on reworking on the existing module because there are a lot of modifications that are required that are constantly need to be updated. So that is not that's not here. The process and the results are well documented. So you are going to write proper documentation that how the things are going to work. Coming on to this one, this is more important as compared to the advantages. So we are concerned about the disadvantages, because of which we move on to the next one, that is our agile model. Okay, so disadvantages: working product is not available until the later stage in the life cycle. Okay, so that we have already discussed that working product is not available until the later stages. Poor model for the large and the complex projects. So in that case, this does not work. Cannot accommodate the changing requirements. If clients is going to change the requirements, so this might not be incorporated into the software. High risk and uncertainty, that means might be the case that the client no longer need to have the software which he has already been given you the task to make. So these are a few of the disadvantages of the waterfall model. Then coming on to the next one, that is agile model. So these are the few points of the agile model. See, this is the priority request. Priority request means out of all the software that you are about to make, beta, you are just prioritizing the modules, that which is the core module which required to be implemented at the very beginning. So you're going to prioritize the request. So whichever is going to have the higher request, first of all, you are going to develop that particular module. So priority request, you are going to develop design, code, test and debug, then release and deployment. So at last you're going to release and deployment. Once it is release and deployment, you will see an arrow. Then you're going to work on the second priority request. Again, do this, release it. Then you pick up the third module, work on it, release it, and so on and so forth. And while the modules are being released after every 2 months, suppose module 1 is released already 2 months back, and now there is some change that is required to be made in module 1. So along with the existing module 3 that you're currently developing, you need to develop, you need to modify, and you need to make changes in module 1 and 2 as well. So that is how this agile model works on the smaller chunks. They work on the different set of the working modules that are deliverables, and based upon that, it is going to deliver to the clients. So to overcome the challenge faced in the waterfall model, we came up with the agile methodology. Okay, agile methodology is going to agile methodology is believes in creating a shorter development cycles. This is important. So this believes in the calculating of the shorter development cycles. The shorter development cycle are achieved not by releasing all the features. Again, very important, we have studied this. This is shorter development cycle are not going to be releasing all the features at once. So all features are not released at once. So by following an incremental modeling of development. So whatever you're going to develop, and you're going to have an incremental modeling. So first of all, the first module, outside that second module, then third module, and then you are integrating to the existing software. So within the increments, you are going to make this complete software. So that's the second point. Okay, so that's the second point. Now coming on to the advantages of agile, maybe that not required, but we are more concerned about agile disadvantages. But let's try to read the advantages of agile. Customer satisfaction is high, because after every 2 months customer is giving the feedback and we are updating his requests, so he is well satisfied. Less planning required, because we are not planning for the entire project for the which needs to be developed in 1 or 2 years. We are just focusing on the module that are required to be developed for the 2 months. So lesser planning is required for the lesser modules. Requirements can be dynamic in nature. That means it can keep on changing as with time. So the applicant can change its requirement with the passage of time. So that's not an issue. We can incorporate that. Functionality can be created and tested quickly. We developed one module, individual module can be tested. Then you develop second module, then you test the second module, and similarly the third, fourth. So individual testing is comparatively easier rather than testing the full-fledged, completely integrated software. It is a much difficult task. This is important. Disadvantages of agile: not suitable for handling complex dependencies in the project. Okay, now suppose first module is quite dependent on module 2, so they cannot be separated individually in order to develop it. So if there are high dependencies of the different modules, in that case complex projects are going to be difficult for this agile model. Knowledge transfer to colleagues can be difficult since it is little documentation. So since after every module you are going to release it, so knowledge transfer, if any of the employees is going to leave the organization and the new employees is going to join, so in that case, because of poor documentation, it might be the difficult one. Then success of a project depends heavily on the customer interaction. So more the feedback you are getting from the customer, more you are going to modify it, making it the better version. So more complete and the correct software you are going to make. So success depends upon the customer interaction. If it is well interacting good enough, so you can get the good product that is made ultimately. Similarly, we come to the last model, that is the lean model. Okay, so lean model is eliminating waste, amplifies learning, decide at late as possible, deliver fast possible, empower the team, build integrity, and see as a whole. So these are the few 7 principles that are the key fundamentals for the lean methodology. Before we can discuss all this, let's discuss these points. That lean development is a philosophy of increasing quality in the software delivery by making use of agile method. So you can understand here, but here also we are using agile methods in the lean development. As I've told you, there's a little difference in this one. Ignore the clutter for the later and focus on what is required now. And lean methodology is the primary focus on two things: request for the frontline workers and continuous improvement. So regularly you need to improve it, and you need to respect the workers or the developers that are actually going to do it. Now what has happened in this agile model, but every time a new requirement comes, it goes to the development team, it moves and it is going to release, and then a new updation comes. So it becomes difficult for the developments to keep a track of the new modules, to modify the existing modules. So it is going to waste the time, energy. So this lean model is going to eliminate such wastages. It amplifies the learning. Okay, how it is going to amplify the learning? Because if the multiple people are working on the same project, maybe there one of them is very good at testing, one of them is very good at integration, one of them is good at the coding part or the error recovery and implementation documentation. So all this can be shared and you can amplify the learnings possibilities. Decide as late as possible to making decision, so you can delay it. How you can delay this? So decisions can be delayed better for one particular module, because it needs to have a customer involvement into it, and based upon the customer feedback, so the decision can be taken late as well, before actually it is going to go for the development. So deliver as fast as possible. So this need not to be explained. So deliver it as well as possible. And part the team is done. It builds the integrity within the development teams and all the operation team. So it builds the integrity, and you can see working as a whole. So these are a few of the lean models. Advantages of lean: carries the same advantages as the agile methodology. So similar to this, create a positive working environment. Customer feedback is given the utmost importance. So in this case also, customer feedback is going to be the very important concern. Limiting wastage saves time and money. Okay, so this is the last slide of our model. Then now we are going to start with our DevOps. Okay, so read this slide: disadvantages of lean model. Read it. It largely depends upon the skill set of the team, therefore requires a strong team. Okay, no room for either. Miss delivery can be bad for the business, and success of the project depends heavily on the customer interaction. So these are going to be the some advantages or disadvantages. So let's see the last portion for our today's lecture. That is going to be the introduction for the DevOps. How Git, Jenkins, what is a continuous integration, continuous deployment, and what are all these things in this. Okay, so let me close this one. Okay, so this is just the final comparison. So whatever we have discussed up to now theoretically, so this is the final comparison written in this slide. So in waterfall model, beta, you can see the time, requirement, design, implementation, verification, all these are represented with the different colors. So time, lot of time for requirement, lot of time for design. At the end of it, you can see this circle means release. This star is going to mean the customer feedback. So in waterfall model, after complete development, you are going to release it and you are going to have the customer feedback at the very last after the delivery. Look onto this agile model. You are divided into smaller chunks. This is going to be done. Then you're going to release it and get the customer feedback. Then the second module is developed. Then you release the second module and the customer feedback is received. Third module is made and this is released and customer feedback is there. The lean model, you're going to eliminate the waste Waste in terms, as I have already told you, waste in terms of the time, resource, energy is much saved in lean model. So this is the additional advantage in the lean model. Otherwise, you can observe 90% of agile and the lean model is going to be the similar one. So this is what the clear distinction, whatever we have studied up to now, everything is written in this one single sheet. Okay. So this is the waterfall model. Let's come on to the summarizing problem. Okay, this is too much of summarizing. Let's not discuss. Why do we need DevOps? Okay, why DevOps? Now, before this, let me move to the whiteboard. One diagram bit I want to just draw it here in this whiteboard. Okay, so the models that we have better seen up to now. So in this models, this is going to be the software company. So this is better software company, and this is going to be our client. Okay, so models are going to be dealing with software. It is going to be the interaction with the software company and clients. यही हमने पढ़ा अभी तक. This is what we have studied. How the requirement is gathering from the customer, how the feedback is received from the customer. So basically, this modeling software development models like waterfall, agile, lean model. This is a interaction between the software company. This is going to be my software company, let's suppose, and this is my customer. So this is the interaction between the company and the customer. Now the DevOps, this is the DevOps. Okay, now DevOps is a interaction. This is going to be my software company, but this is going to be my software company. It has to do nothing with the client. Okay, so this is my software company. This is the development team within the company. This is the development team, and this is the operation team. We are going to discuss their roles, what development team is going to do, what operation team is going to do. But assume this is the development team. There are 10 people working in the development team. There are 8 people working in the operations team. So DevOps is basically the internal matter or internal working or internal issues that are faced within the organization. DevOps is used for the resolution of that. Okay, so DevOps is going to resolve the issues within the organization. It is not going to be directly dealing with the client. It is going to deal within the organization. Okay, so this is the important point to understand. Let's move back to our that slide and let's start discussing our DevOps. Now you can see, but there's a software company, and within the software company there's a developer also, there's an operation guy also, and you will see a symbol that is made. There's a clash, or they people are in opposite directions when it comes to taking a decision. So why this is going to happen is, although the software quality is improved, we still had a lack of efficiency among the development team. A typical software development team consists of the developers and the operational employee. Let us understand their job roles. Basically, a software company will have these people, but these developers are responsible for writing the code. Once they have written the code, they are going to hand it over to the operations guy. These set of people are responsible for debugging, for testing, for deployment, for maintenance, for feedback, for customer interaction. All these things are going to be managed with the operations. Developer is just going to develop it and it is going to give it to the operations guy. It is written, although software quality is improved, but there's going to be an internal disagreement between two teams. This is very common in the companies. Okay, in order to solve this, let's understand what is the role of the developer and what is the role of the operations guy. So the developer job is to develop the application and pass his code to the operation team.
This what I have already told you. Development job is to develop an application and passes code to the operation team. Now what operation team is going to do? Beta, operation team job is to test the code whether it is performing as per the requirement or not, and provide a feedback to the developers. So if it is not working, if the developer made a calculator which should do 2 plus 2 equal to 4, and he has written a code and given it to the operational team. Now when I'll try to test, it is going to do 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, but when I'll do 3 plus 3, it is still going to show me 4. That means there is an error or there is a feedback from the operation guy. So this feedback will go back to the developer. He is going to make a changes, okay, and provide feedback or developer in case of bugs. If all goes well, suppose there is a feedback given for the operation to developer, he made the changes and everything is working fine. So if all goes well, operation team uploads the code to the build servers. Now, beta, what do you mean by build? Building kaise hoti hai? To convert it into an executable files. Like in Java, we have the jar files hoti na. So in Java, we have the jar files or the .exe files that are, we are going to build it, that are executable file. So operation teams are going to get all the codes from the developer. They are going to make a build file and put it onto the either the testing servers or going to build it on the production servers. So based upon the requirement, they are going to put it there. Okay, so that is the role of the operation guy. So now you need to look onto the arrows. So this is the arrow in the right direction, then you will see the arrow in the left direction. How the communication is going to happen, it is written there. So the developer is going to say that the developer used to run, okay, just give me a second. Yes, so the developer used to run the code on his system and then forward it to the operation team. But keep it very clear, this is very important. The complete today's session we have developed for the introduction. So this is very important. The developer used to run the code on his system and then forward it to the operations team. Okay, now he has forward to the operations team. Now operations, when tried to run the code on their system, it did not run. This is the very common point. Developer is running the code on their system, it is working absolutely fine. They hand it over to the operation team, they try to run the code, it is not running. Now what will be the outcome? You tell me what should be the outcome. Operations team beta will revert back to the developer team that, hey, whatever code you have written, that's a incorrect code, that's a faulty code, it is having a lot of bugs, it is not working properly. Developer will say that you don't know how to work, you are running the operation team, you should know how it should work, it is working fine on my system. So that's the root cause of clash. Okay, so code will not run on the system of the operations teams. Now on next slide you will see that operations then mark this code, the operations team will mark this code as the faulty code. Okay, they will mark it as the faulty code and they use to forward this feedback to the developer. They returned the feedback to the developer. Now what this developer is going to say, they say that, but this code runs fine on the developer system and hence he said that it is not my fault because it runs on his code. He is denying that it is not his developer's fault if it is not running on the operational systems. So this is the issue. Now ultimately what is going to happen, it is a developer is saying it is not my fault, operation says that the code is not running. So ultimately there is going to be the clash between the different teams, but which gives a birth to the DevOps. That gives a birth to the DevOps. This is the need for the DevOps. This led to the lot of back and forth between the developer and the operations teams, hence impact efficiency. Because of this, ultimately what is going to happen, the efficiency, the output is going to be delayed and it is going to impact the efficiency. Now you can ask me, sir, what is going to be the solution for this one? Better the answer is going to be the Git. Okay, the answer is going to be Git. I'll tell you that how it is going to be resolved. Now when DevOps is being used, now how the solution is being solved, this is developer, this is operation, they are going to use this a development operation system. So they are going to better plan. So first of all, I'm going to read this purple color semicircle and you will observe it is an infinite symbol. you'll observe everywhere you'll see that DevOps, whenever it is written as the infinite symbol. Why they write it as an infinite symbol? Because this is ever going process. There is a never end to this process. So this will be ever going on. Developer will hand it over to the operations team. Operations team will get the feedback. They'll give it back to the developer. They will again work on that. They will again give it back. So this is an infinite loop of working between the developer and the operation. Okay. So developer is going to plan it, then it is going to code it, then it is going to build the test cases, test, and it will be released. Now, when you will see beta this release, this is written orange color. Now there are two type of releases. One is the internal release and one is the external release. Internal release from one team to another. So development team is released and it goes to the operation team. That is an internal release. Now when operation team is going to integrate everything, they are going to release it and they are going to put it onto the production server. So they are going to release it for the external world. Okay, so release, then it is going to deploy, then operate, then monitor. After monitor, what is the feedback? It again goes to the planning phase for the developer for coding, build, test, and so this cycle will keep on working. Okay, the problem was solved using the DevOps. Now let's try to compare the traditional IT company, how that companies operate versus the DevOps. What are the differences between them? So traditional IT companies, they are less productive as compared to the DevOps. So that is why more companies are trying to migrate to the DevOps for the more productivity. These are focusing on the skill centric. They okay that if few people are good developers, give them the development task. If few people are good testers, give them the testing task. So in this, DevOps team is divided into specialized silos, specialized roles. You can understand it as a roles. Instead of skill, you specify the particular role. Might be the case if a person is good in the development, he might be the part of the operations team. So this is not specific to the certain skill. Okay, that is the more important. The third is more time is invested in planning. So in this case, smaller and the frequent release are easy to scheduling and less time for planning. So little time for planning is required here. Difficult to achieve target or goal. Frequent releases होते after every 1 week or 1 month you can release it with the continuous feedback makes it achieving target easy. So that this is how the difference between the traditional software says and the final one is. Now, better read this slide related to DevOps. Read this slide once. But after this introduction, maybe next week when we'll be starting with the DevOps, and then we'll start with the Git, and I'll tell you few commands related to the Gits. बेटा Git के लिए आपको Docker install करना पड़ेगा. One way is to install the Docker. Another way is you can execute all those commands on the cloud. Okay, so without installation also you can execute the commands, and you need to install the Docker as well. So we'll see both the ways. I've got one message. Tomorrow is maybe the next week, Vishal. Tomorrow is a holiday. Saturday, Sunday is off. Next from the next week onwards. Okay. So I hope you have read this. DevOps is a software development methodology which improves the collaboration. So what it is going to do, it improves the collaboration between the operations team using the various automation tools. ठीक है जी बेटा बहुत सारे automation tools I have told you under the single umbrella. So you might remember Docker, Jenkins, Puppet, Ansible, Terraform. So these are some of the automation tools. अब automation tools कैसे हैं? I'll give you an example. Suppose this operation team is going to monitor and it is going to get a feedback, and that feedback is required to be given to the planning team. But either you can have a manual thing that there is a person sitting onto the computer who is gathering the feedback and who is going to send an email or he is going to send an Excel sheet to the development team. This is one of the way, manual way. Or there is an automated software that is going to gather the feedbacks from the monitoring system and it automatically is displayed to the development team. So all these things are going to be automated. So development is this DevOps is going to be working on this automation tools. Okay. So DevOps is nothing but an automation tools. These automation tools are implementing using various stages which are a part of the development DevOps lifecycle. We'll see that DevOps lifecycle. Better this is important. The DevOps lifecycle is made up of 4 components. Continuous, because this is an infinite symbol, better, because this is an infinite symbol, so it is never going to stop. So we have got continuous development is one phase, continuous testing is the another phase, continuous deployment is the another phase, continuous monitoring is the another phase. Okay. Now, this development and testing, this is done at the developer side. These like plan, code, build, and test. This is done at the development side. Release it, deploy it, operate it, and monitor it. This is done at the operations team side. Now, what is going to happen is, better first of all, you will plan what you need to make. You will do a code, you will build it, test it, you will do the executable file, you do the testing this. Once testing is done, look at the blue color arrow mark. It is going for the continuous integration. This is very important part. This circle is very, very important. Continuous integration is going to link the development team and the operation team. How these two teams are linked? Using the continuous integration. So after testing, it is going to release, deploy, operate, and monitor. Now, after monitoring, you will be again getting certain feedback. You will see the arrow mark orange color. It is going to move back to the planning phase. So that means there are 5 different components in this: continuous development, continuous testing, continuous deployment, monitoring, and the continuous integration. Using these 5 components, these are, you can understand it as a base, but these are the foundations. Like if you want to study the Java program, first of all you need to understand what is JVM, what is JDK, what is how you are going to install it, जो files कैसे create होती हैं. So this is the base for it. Okay, so if you have understood these 5 components, that continuously development is going to happen. So it is going to happen in plan and code. These are the 2 parts of the development. Then you, whatever you code you have done, you need to build it as a the executable file. You build it and you test it. That's a continuous testing. And by the way, better important point is, you have for continuous development you have a separate tool. Continuous testing के लिए अलग tool है, continuous integration के लिए अलग tool है. जैसे कि Jenkins जो है बेटा, वो क्या है आपका continuous integration का tool है. Continuous deployment के लिए अलग tool है, continuous monitoring के लिए अलग tool है. So when someone is going to say that I know DevOps, that means you cannot just better understand Jenkins. So if anyone knows the tool Jenkins, that means you can understand he knows only the continuous integration part. Okay, so he knows only integration part if someone says that he knows Jenkins. But can you tell me, if someone knows the Jenkins, बेटा किसी को अगर सिर्फ integration का पता है, can he be working in the this DevOps field? So you need to have the knowledge of development, testing, operations, monitoring, integrations. If you know all these 4 or 5 tools, then the combination of these 5s are going to be the DevOps working. Now, this is the another important slide. Okay, better read this. If you are able to do so, this is the developer. He is going to write the code. So continuous development is going to be done at the developer end. Then there's a bit of server, or you can say there's a system which we call as the version control system. Better write down, underline, take a sheet of paper or save it somewhere. This is very important. Version control system. So version control system is going to store the version. Let's suppose this developer has made a software and the version is 1.0. Next time there is going to be a feedback. The developer is going to make a changes into it, and it is going to upload that changes to the version control system with a version 2.0. Okay, so version 3.0, version 4.0. So whenever the developer is going to get a feedback, he is going to make a continuous development and he is going to upload it into the version control system. What is the benefit of version control system? Tomorrow, better suppose your version 1 is working fine, version 2 is working fine. On version 3, there are some errors and it is not able to work properly. Okay, so one way is you can undo, you can remove or you can erase all the version 3 from the existing software. This is one of the way. Or you can simply go to the version control system. You know already that version 2 was working fine, but version 3 is having an issues. So you can simply get a copy of the version 2 from this version control system. Beta, are you, hello? Am I audible? Are you able to get this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's a version control system which retains the copy of the modifications that is being done. And every time you make any modification, it is going to create a new version. Okay. So that you can keep a track. It is like, you can understand it as a log file. Isko simple bhasha mein. So you can understand it as a log file where it is going to keep and maintain all the changes, previous versions, current versions, updated versions. So every version is going to be here. But can you tell me what tool I'll be using for this version control system? Give it a guess. What tool I'll be using for version control system? Let me show it to you. Better look at this diagram now. Developer, after continuous development, it is going to put the code where? It is going to put the code on GitHub. So the first conclusion from the DevOps tools you need to have is GitHub is used as the version control system. Okay, let me move back to the previous slide. So version control system is what? Your Git is going to be used here. After continuous development, whatever the developer is going to do, it is going to store everything on the version control system. And here I can write it is Git. It is going to store it into the GitHub. Okay. Now this is done. Version control system is going to be the GitHub. Then after version control system, then we need to have a continuous integration, the middle portion. Okay, this is done. Then continuous integration. But if continuous integration is going to be putting it into two different ways. First of all, continuous integration need to put it into the testing server. Okay, so I need to check it that whether whatever is done by the development team, this is the development team, I need to check it. This checking is going to be done with the help of the continuous integration. It is going to put it into a testing server and continuous testing is going to be performed. Now, if continuous testing is performed successfully, this continuous integration is going to put that version in the production server. But at this production server, ये आपका release करता है worldwide. So in the common public, this production server is going to release the software to the common public. So this is the production server. Okay. Otherwise, if there is a few errors or the few feedbacks is required from continuous this after continuous integration, continuous deployment in this testing server, it will move back to the developer. So that is the monitoring phase. Okay. So continuous testing is done, continuous integration is done, continuous deployment is done, continuous monitoring is done. So let's move back and let me show you the tools that are actually used for this. Better, this is for the version control. Jenkins, you will see here, this is for the continuous integration. This particular tool, Jenkins, this is used for the, there is someone who wants to join. Okay. So this continuous, I hope you can see this. So GitHub is the version control. And after this, Jenkins is going to be your continuous integration that is going to integrate everything. So you can see this Jenkins is going to use the testing server, but a Puppet and Ansible. These are the two tools that are used for the testing and for the testings. Okay, Puppet and Ansible. These are used for the by Jenkins for the testing phase. Once this is done, in the production phase, you can it is going to be released. And once if you need to have any of the feedback, बेटा feedback directly production server से जो भी आपके पास feedback आएगा, using the feedback loop, the tool that you need to understand is Negios is the tools that is going to move the feedback back to the developer. Okay,
So the previous slide was better than more of the generic slide. So this was more of the generic slide, you can say. Continuous testing for continuous monitoring, we use the different tools. Continuous integration different tool. Deployment के लिए puppet यूज करेंगे हम लोग, and testing के लिए ansible यूज करेंगे, selenium यूज करेंगे, version के लिए we use the git, and monitoring के लिए we have already seen. So these are more of the generic one, and then the exact tools that are required to be understood is present here. Okay, so these are the two very important slides. Now in between the slides that we have already skipped, but these are the just introduction of the what is this Jenkins, what is this Docker, what is this Puppet, this is Git, this is Kubernetes, and this is Ansible. So these are the whatever tools are there. उसके बारे में, ये Git के बारे में, जो first point that you see is this is for the Git, and then for the continuous integration you use the Jenkins, and for the continuous deployment you use the Puppet and Ansible. So these are the tools that you can use. Okay, and for the testing phase, you can see for the testing phase we use the Selenium, and for the monitoring nag iOS you use the, for continuous monitoring we use these tools. Okay, so these are the few of the tools that we need to study. This is the basic overview. Better let me stop the screen share. This is all. So this was the basic, and the they are used in Selenium in place of Selenium. Aryan, but I'm not able to get your question. So basically, better today's session, a basic overview of the DevOps we have seen, what was practicing in the industry till now, what problems we are facing without DevOps, how DevOps is going to solve those problems. DevOps is nothing but a simple methodology. Now DevOps is an automation package of automation tools, and in this automation tools there are multiple 8 to 10 different tools that are there, and they need to work in coordination with each other. All these tools need to work with the coordination in order to make it as a complete package so that the DevOps can be understood. Okay, and by the way, better 8 to 10, all these tools will not be able to cover in this entire training, but few of the tools like Kubernetes, बेटा एक ऐसा, या Jenkins बेटा ऐसा tool है, the tools that will be using along with our AWS management console. Okay, so we'll be clubbing these two topics in coming lectures. In the coming weeks we'll be clubbing this DevOps along with the AWS, and we'll try to run the GitHub commands using our AWS. Okay, so a lot of new stuff is coming on your way from the next week, and this is more of the theoretical portion that we have studied in our today's class, because this is mandatory since you are very new, very beginning for this DevOps. So instead of directly jumping onto the GitHub commands, so we used to establish a base. Now I hope everyone know what is the Docker, what it does, and sorry, what is DevOps, what it does, and what are the problems that we face otherwise, and how we can use the DevOps and solve the problems. Don't worry about the tools that are present here. One by one, gradually we'll try to understand them. Okay, but in case anyone is having any doubt, you can ask me your doubts. So we don't have the class, sir, please share all PPTs regarding this week. Yes, tomorrow is Saturday, but related to the AWS whatever we have studied, and related to this DevOps whatever we have studied, I'll make it a zip file, and I'll either mail it to everyone, and I'll drop it into this WhatsApp group as well. So apart from this, if you have any other doubt, you can ask me your doubts. Any other doubt?